Good evening and welcome. I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Round Lake Area School District Board of Education on February the 6th, 2023 at 6:57 p.m. If I can get started with a roll call, please.
Mrs. Klingler?
Here.
Mr. Francisco?
Here.
Mr. Jewett?
Here.
Mrs. McGinley?
Here.
Mr. De Vera?
Here.
All right, and first up is our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first up is an approval of the meeting agenda that we have in front of us. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Jewett, second by Mrs. Klingler. Roll call, please.
Mrs. McGinley?
Yes.
Mr. De Vera?
Yes.
Mr. Francisco?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler?
Yes.
Motion carries. We have an approved agenda, and first up on that is special recognition and presentations, and that would be our high school all-state choir students. I think
So I'm basically just going to introduce Mr. Olson. He's going to talk about the amazing things these young gentlemen have achieved. So it's my honor to introduce Mr. Olson.
Hello, everybody. So I'm here to brag about Alfonso and Abraham. They are two tenors from choir that made the All-State Choir and the All-State Honors Choir. This is a very high distinction. I believe it's the first time since 2010 that we've had students make the All-State Choir. But basically, they go through an audition process of usually around 700 students from our area, Lake McHenry and Cook County. And they made the all-district choir. And then from the all-district choir, they select about 10% of those students. So the top 10% go to state. And so both of these fine gentlemen made state. And we're down in Peoria last week for 3 days of rehearsal and an excellent final concert. Couldn't be more proud of them. They prepared, they probably worked the hardest out of anybody to do the district audition, which I always like that they are the ones that made it. And then, worked on their own to study the all-state music, and then worked with premier conductors last week, concluding in the concert over the weekend. So just incredibly talented and hardworking young men that represented Round Lake really well.
All right, next up is communications to the board, and the first one on that is the student return from Plaviac school configurations. Decision timeline.
So in your packet, I put together just some background. I'm not going to read the memo to you. As you know, we've months into this process of meeting with stakeholders, teachers, community members. And for your convenience, we've listed some of the background. Everybody here knows we're working on a process to bring our students back from Plaviac. And over the last 6 or 8 weeks, we've been facilitating presentations with the staff and the community. We ended last week. We had our last parent meeting. We still have we have a meeting scheduled. We're going to follow up with the staff to answer some of the questions. The reason I put this in is really for your consideration. I'm not looking for a vote. I'm looking for feedback from the board. As we thought about the process and how it could unfold, I think the meeting on the 20th is, the way I view that, is really going to be probably the longer, more substantive meeting where we're actually going to do the presentation of what we learned, specifically in areas that include but are not limited to the background for the work, context, and the timeline, which aligns to what we've been sharing. Feedback from the parents and staff. We've been taking that electronically and verbally. Perceived pros and cons of each configuration, solution to the various challenges connected to each configuration. We know with the parents, for example, parents have communicated concern with the shuttle, and so we developed a transportation model that doesn't have a shuttle. There's direct route. So we'll be engaged in that in a variety of areas. Practical implications, we want to make sure the board has all of the information, and also talk about transportation. But that's probably not even all we're going to share. So what my recommendation, what I'd like the feedback on from the board, is really to engage in a two-step process. The first being that presentation, which is on March 20th. We would expect and hope the board during that meeting, during and after, would ask questions, make comments, and frankly, you may even ask for additional information as a result of some of what we present. And rather than having you vote on the same evening where you actually potentially could ask us to go do more work, that would actually give us a little bit of time to get answers for you on questions you may have. And frankly, as representatives of the community, I would give you between then and April 10th to speak to your neighbors and anybody else that would want to speak to you. And then actually we would be bringing potentially answers back to your questions in April 10th, and that's the meeting we would ask you to take action on. So it's actually another layer of transparency. I think maybe one of the things that could happen, which I don't think would be a good thing, is you have a bunch of questions on March 20th that we don't have answers for, and then we ask you to vote during the same evening. So I'm just really looking for feedback as to whether or not you think that's a viable process. I don't really think for us, in terms of executing whatever plan we need to, having you vote on April 10th has zero impact on our ability to deliver. So I'll turn it over to you for discussion.
Just a couple quick questions for the information that's coming to the board on the 20th. That'll include the comprehensive of the parent sessions, and the staff will get all that.
Yes.
And then you'll have a breakdown of cost, because again, in the parent sessions, it was direct route or shuttle. You'll have that as well.
Yes, one thing I didn't put in here is we'll also have a lease and purchase cost for mobiles. We'll have that for you. We're going to try to think of everything, and we're pretty good at kind of outlining everything we needed to solve for. But it's possible we'll get to the meeting and there might be some outstanding issues that we haven't brought to you. We're going to try not to do that. But if, for example, we get to that's the benefit of waiting a meeting. We get to March 20th, you may say, hey, can you go get this, this, and this? That gives us time to go actually get this and this and get it to you before the meeting, and then you would have the information you'd need.
Yeah, I just thought I'd just ask those questions in advance of the 20th.
Yeah, and to, as Nicole McGinley's point, definitely having the layout and basically all three of the different options, so to speak, which would be partner direct transportation, partner shuttle transportation, and K5, having that cost breakdown on each one would be very helpful. And then also any kind of insights we can have on, I know we don't have the exact, but any kind of insights on what the lines would look like on each of the three. I know it's not going to be an exact science, but just a conversation starter more.
Yeah, so we're going to bring as much detail as we can. It's going to be, with some of these things, because we don't know what our enrollment's going to look like in a year and a half. So it's going to be hard to actually have an explicit, like on the ground level of cost, for example, to staff each building. I think we'll have some ideas of what that would look like. I think what we're also going to try to do is, to the extent possible, talk about impact potentially of a boundary change, which kind of leads to like the zoning. So we think we can get a lot of that information, but again, we're going to get as much detail as we can to you so that you can make an informed decision.
Would that potentially include scheduling as well?
We will have starting and ending times. That will be done. Yes.
And again, across all three of the different options, each different one, how it would play out.
You'll actually have the starting and ending times. I'm looking at Dr. Center, but I think, yes, for not just those, but the middle school, the high school, the early childhood center, because they're all connected, because we have to run the buses for all those tiers. So we would have that outlined for you. That's doable, right?
As long as Lewis agrees, but
Yes,
yes, I believe we
yes.
can have it.
Any other questions for the administration based on what we've heard so far?
Just another question. Is the Google form for parents, is that still open? Like, is there a deadline that we've communicated to the public that they can get those last minute questions in for those who weren't able to attend? The sessions were greatly attended, but if there's still those parents out there who have questions, when is that cutoff for them?
So I don't want to give you inaccurate information. Ms. Bennett returns to work tomorrow. I will find out, and worst case, we will multiple times between now and then send out multiple blasts with an active link.
Okay, I just want to make sure those community members who couldn't attend, that form, if it's open to them, when they can submit those last, maybe questions, whatever they have.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Is there general support from the board on the two-step meeting process?
From my perspective, moving slow on a big decision like this, I think is really wise. So 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, 100%. I
I
would
think-
ask though, are we gonna have rural representation there on the 20th?
I'm not sure. That's up to the association. They may speak at the 20th. They may. I'm not exactly sure what the plan is. That would be I think during public comment. So.
Okay.
Yeah, that was just gonna be my last question is, will you have information on what the union representation is saying about the models? I know they attended those parent sessions, but knowing,
Oh yeah, I mean I believe they would come and share their opinion, but I'll certainly have it ready to share at the meeting.
That would be the preference, so there's no surprises on the night we're
Yeah.
supposed to vote.
Yeah, I want to make sure we have an appropriate venue. We don't have people standing in the hallway and that kind of thing. So I'll talk about that with the union leadership and see if I can get some direction on that.
the other thing I was gonna say, I think a 2-step process is probably the only way to go. This is a big decision that we're, asked to vote on that affects a community that's had a neighborhood school since, well, as long as I've been here, well over 50 years. And no matter which model it goes, there's gonna be some boundary changes to these families.
So yeah, I think you're hearing general consensus from the board that definitely a good process, so thank you. All right, next up in the conversation is the recycling of obsolete technology equipment. Everything was spelled out in the memo. Any questions for the administration in regards? Hearing none, we will then move to contracts under 1,000, at which point there are none at this point. So thank you for that, and thank you for the clarification on that one. So next step, we will move on then to opportunities for public comment. And as always, members of the public may participate in public comment during all regular board meetings by attending in person or by submitting an electronic public comment form. Please note that speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Electronic public comments are accepted up until noon on the day of the scheduled regular meeting, and the public commenter will be contacted to confirm identity. Once confirmed, the electronic public comment will be provided to all board members in written form, and a link to the electronic public comment form is on the electronic website. We did not have any electronic public comment, so we would love to open the floor up for any local public comment. No public comment? Going once? Going twice? Thank you. All right, then next up is the superintendent's report. Take it away, Dr. Mendoza.
Thank you, Board President Francisco and Board of Education. We're pleased to communicate that on February 24th at 6:30 p.m., we will be hosting the annual Black History Month celebration at the Round Lake Beach Civic Center. This is the first in-person Black History Month celebration since February of 2020. The event will include performances from each school. Black History Month was created to focus attention on the contributions of African Americans to the United States and was designed to honor individuals from periods of U.S. history. Also pleased to communicate that the Northern Lake County Conference Honors Band Festival will be hosted at Grays Lake Central on Thursday of this week, February 9th at 7 p.m. Select students from each of the benefits that we receive from moving is focusing, taking a more holistic approach, and not just, certainly I love sports as much as anybody, but also focusing on broader types of events, and this is an example of that. Also pleased to communicate for the second year in a row, the Round Lake High School chess team is headed to the state tournament this weekend. This year, the accomplishment is even more special given the increased requirements established in order to qualify for the state tournament. We will be sending 8 students from Round Lake High School, so very, very proud, and we'll certainly report back on that. As the board is aware, Round Lake District 116 was one of 8 districts statewide that was awarded one of the early childhood construction grants. I want to thank Dr. Center and her team. Last week, members of the District 116 leadership team met as part of a launch meeting, which included immediate and long-term to-dos, as well as the establishment of a timeline. We expect to engage in site work this spring, believe it or not. I mean, it's going to be starting. We anticipate relocating the Central Office Administration by the time school starts in the fall. I will be updating the board regarding multiple options under consideration for said relocation. And then I had one late addition. I couldn't get on there. Ms. Cacciatore has communicated that our students performed very well at the speech sectional tournament this past weekend and have advanced to the regional competition. In addition, the Round Lake High School speech team took 5th overall. They move on to regionals in DeKalb this weekend, and we have a few moving on to state. And we'll have about 10 students participating. So very nice, well-rounded superintendent's report with a variety of positive student accomplishments. So that concludes this week's report.
Thank you, Dr. Mendoza. Next up, let's get some approval of some open meeting minutes.
I need a motion to approve the January 23rd, 2023 regular board meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Mr. Jewett, second by Mr. Francisco. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Klingler,
Abstain.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Devera,
Yes.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the consent agenda for the following items. The accounts payable report for $444,005.41 and the February 6, 2023 employment report.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Devera, seconded by Mr. Jewett. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Devera,
Yes.
Motion carries. And we have completed the consent agenda. And next up is introduction of new administration.
Good evening. I am pleased this evening to introduce Hermes Mondragon to you as our new Manager of Computing Devices, Network Systems, and Cybersecurity. Hermes has been with our district for over 6 years now, most recently in the role of Network Specialist. Since joining Round Lake back in 2016 as a technology technician, he made an immediate impact, supporting all the AV technology in the new high school learn labs, science rooms, and collaboration spaces. Remember those days? He was literally hired as a technician was supposed to work out of the district office, our annex, and was relocated a week later here at the high school and spent 2 years working on the technology that didn't work. He quickly became the go-to member for the high school staff and our entire team. His can-do attitude meant a lot. He has led numerous projects throughout the time in the district, including the One-to-Wonder iPad deployment, numerous AV solutions, and that was before we had an AV specialist in the district. He was probably the first one. And the district-wide network infrastructure upgrade that is currently in progress, just to name a few. Hermes honed his skills over the years prior to joining Round Lake through various technical roles and certifications. Since very young, he's had a profound passion for technology that has continued to grow over time. Hermes was born in Acapulco, Mexico, and has called Waukegan home for the past 23 years. When he's not at work, Hermes looks forward to spending time with his wife and their 2 children. His wife Alexandra has joined him here this evening. Hermes also enjoys testing gadgets and improving his bad Photoshop skills. His words, not mine. They're actually pretty good. With a strong technical background and a deep understanding of our district's network infrastructure, I'm confident Hermes will do an outstanding job. He's got big shoes to fill, as you know, but he'll be great. And there's nothing more rewarding than promoting within. Please join me in welcoming Hermes and wishing him well in his new position. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll keep it short. I'd like to thank the board and Round Lake administration for the opportunity, and I'll continue to do my best for our district and our students. Thank you.
So, real funny story I have to just share quickly. I think he and I were only the two people in the entire district that had OnePlus phones. So there's only one person in the district that I could complain to, and we became kind of friends about that. I'm almost embarrassed to even say that. I had a OnePlus. It was a pretty good phone, but actually, it was just something. Yeah, now I have an iPhone, so that's fine. So.
All right, next up are positive occurrences. I will start. I actually have them typed up, so I'm going to be reading a little bit here. Thanks to Dr. Mendoza for stealing all my speech team positive occurrence, so appreciate that one. But we'll start with the high school bowling regional results. Team finished 8th in regionals. We had 2 bowlers who advanced to individual sectionals this weekend coming up, Carly Lauritsen and Miriam Salcedo. On the boys wrestling side, at the regional results, team finished 6th in the regionals. We had 2 regional champions, Alejandro Cordova, who's a junior at the 113, and William Cole, who's a senior at 285. In addition, Lewis Daniels, who's a senior at 182, placed 2nd in the regionals, so he qualified for sectionals there. And we had one other who did place, Oscar Rodriguez at 106, who's a junior, placed 4th place, but unfortunately 4th place does not get you to sectionals. As a reminder, Friday the 10th, our girls wrestling team will be going to sectionals at Evanston. There's 54 teams in that sectionals, so that's going to definitely be fun. They'll be there and wrestling for that. Speech team finished 5th at regionals last weekend. We had, you have to please bear with me on the names, but Noah Mezowitz and Zelton Zepeda Solis advanced to sectionals for humorous duet acting, Carolina Vilches for declamation and prose speaking, Carlos Vilches for original comedy, Janet Gomez for dramatic interpretation, and Caitlin Sabalas for poetry reading. In addition, Melanie Castaneda, Nirajek Prum, and Brian Leal all made it to the finals. Last couple quick congratulations. This one's a little late, but Vera Lindquist back in December won gold medal at regional basketball skills for Special Olympics in Illinois. And of course, our two new head coach and assistant coach for our boys volleyball team, Storm Melnick and John Mickeling. Welcome to the program there. And amazingly, spring sports starts up on February the 27th.
I just wanted to add, I think, positive occurrences, as we mentioned, we had all these parent sessions. It was very positive to have as many members of the community and parents come out and share their feedback, listen to administration, what had to be presented and needed to be presented. So I think, again, a big thank you to the community that came out.
I did not get to go to this, but Ava went to the variety show and said it was outstanding. Unfortunately, I was ill, but I heard really good things. So I just wanted to shout out everybody that sang that. Yeah.
Hearing nothing else there, we will move on. Any future agenda items for the administration to add to our agendas? Hearing none there, and with no closed session, I will call to order this meeting of, actually, I will call to adjournment. Sorry, my bad. We're not starting all over. Not going to do it. 7:23 p.m. on February the 6th. Thank you all. We will see you in a couple weeks, and everybody have a great evening.